Okay, welcome everybody. Happy Monday. It's the day after Mother's Day, May 11th, and our special spotlight today is the highly esteemed Mr. Richard Yoshida. Welcome, and the crowd goes wild. How are you, Richard?
Thank you.
I
Priscilla.
love your background.
Oh, yeah, that's beautiful, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, that's an event that we did during the 100-year anniversary. We'll talk about that a little later. But I want to first of all thank you very much for inviting me for this interview. It's a real honor and a pleasure to do this.
Oh, and I'm so excited to have you.
Yeah, thank you.
So before we get into our spotlight, I'm going to share a little bit about your bio with everybody. So you were born in Salinas, California, prior to the onset of World War II. Your father was a first-generation Issei from Yamaguchi, Japan, and your mother was a second-generation from Yamaguchi, Japan, but was born in Honolulu, Hawaii.
Honolulu. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for correcting me. So you came to Colorado when you were 2 years old, at the height of the prejudice and xenophobia that was happening around the war. But because of Governor Ralph Carr at the time, your family was able to avoid that relocation internment and come to Colorado, where your family settled in Fort Lupton, Colorado.
Correct.
And you graduated from CU Boulder, go Buffs.
Go Buffs.
And you got your degree in electrical engineering.
Right.
And then you eventually started working with Lockheed Martin. And you are like a legit rocket scientist.
Yes,
so
I am.
when we talk about rocket scientists, you are a rocket scientist.
Right.
But you're currently like completely retired. You're the only retired person I know who's completely retired, but you're not really retired because I've seen your bio. You're volunteering a lot of your time to support a number of Japanese and Asian community and cultural organizations. And so you were a past board member for the Denver Buddhist Temple and chair of multitude of committees, and served as president of the youth and youth director. You're currently vice president of the board of directors of the Sakura Foundation, and you've been a trustee on the board of directors for 16 years. And in your free time, you are an instructor of cultural enka singing club. And you teach young people and old people and any people how to sing Japanese songs. And you are an amazing coordinator because you helped coordinate the publishing of the 100-year anniversary of the Buddhist Temple. And it's over 300 pages of history. And it's called The Oneness of the Nembutsu. And so if anybody would like to receive a copy, they can receive a copy and learn about the history. So arigato for being on my being my spotlight today, I should say. It's such a delight. So I'm really curious about your family's journey. You know, in the Asian community, we study a lot about our history, and especially the history of the internment of the Japanese people, and how your family had built a relationship to where they could be saved from being in internment camps. Can you share a little bit more of that story?
Yeah, a little bit. Of course, you know, since I was 2 years old when the war broke out, you know how old I am then, because I'll be 81 years old this year, and I still try to stay active. But when we came, we were able to come back to Colorado because my family had previously lived here. They moved to California to see if they can get a better life, and they got a very successful strawberry farm going. That's when the war broke out, and we were all we were forced to evacuate by Executive Order 9066. All people of Japanese ancestry had to move away from California, Washington, Oregon, and also Canada, inland. And so there were 10 camps that were opened up throughout the United States, as far as Arkansas, where George Takei went, by the way. And so we were able to come to Colorado. There is a camp in southeastern Colorado called Amachi, where 7,000 plus people were interned there. But we were not forced to go there because we knew people in Colorado, and Governor Carr, who actually risked his political career to open up for the Japanese people to come into the state. He says, you are more than welcome. So we were able to do that. And, Japanese are very quiet as far as trying to share their background and history, because a lot of it has got some really deep scars and hurt that last for them forever. And so they kind of kept it inside. So our parents hardly ever told us anything about that. But then we did feel the xenophobia especially as I went through grade school in Fort Lupton. I didn't know what was happening, but I was getting into fights every day, almost every day, because they would call us names and everything. I didn't know what was going on, but today I know, and that's kind of, it's coming to a forefront again. I'm really concerned about that. But that's basically it. Yeah, I grew up with that in our background, and I really appreciate what our parents did for us. They experienced and practiced a word that's very important, at least in their mind. It's called gaman. Have you heard gaman?
No.
Well, it means to endure the seemingly unbearable with patience and dignity. That's what they did. And then they brought us up pretty good, I think, but they didn't talk about their past at all. That's kind of, we did farming, and a lot of the people from the California areas did settle not only in the different states, but in Colorado, they came mostly to the southern part, and then from there they dispersed to the different parts of Colorado and the neighboring states too.
I can imagine how difficult that was to leave everything you knew to come to a state and just start all over again.
Yeah.
And then to be receiving so much hate and abuse and name calling. We're seeing instances of that today because of the pandemic. And, what would you say to young Asian children? Because a lot of people don't know the difference between Chinese, Japanese, Korean, they just see you look Asian. But how did you get through that? And what kind of advice would you give to young people?
It's hard. It's really hard, because I've already experienced at least two of those xenophobic type of episodes. One very recently. I don't want to share it on here because it's very personal. But I guess you just have to bear with it. Gaman is what I talked about. Bear with it and do the best you can. But get involved with some of these groups that deal with these things and try to make the society better. I think you kind of encourage them to do that, and it should get better. It's going to take time, but this country is going to, like any other country, though, we're going to go through ups and downs with this same phenomenon, I'm afraid.
Well, it didn't stop you from going to college and becoming a rocket scientist. And so we're going to take advantage of the fact that we are talking to a rocket scientist, and Lockheed Martin is a really, really important, big company that works in aerospace. And tell us more about some of the really cool things that you did as a rocket scientist.
It is a huge company. I was able to avoid the draft. I was not a draft dodger, but I was considered to be a critical skill because we're in the defense industry. And so I was involved in the three basic families of the Titan rocket, Titan 1, 2, 3, and 4. And they were as tall as 20-story buildings, huge rockets. Do you hear my dog? Sorry.
Yeah.
And a lot of them were either commercial satellites, or most of them were military satellites that were put into orbit around the Earth around 200-300 miles above the Earth. And then some of them were built to go into outer space. I was in charge as my career progressed. I was in charge with the high energy upper stage called the Centaur, which was the final stage that put the satellite or the payload into orbit, or the satellite out into the outer spaces, into Pluto, Neptune, and all those areas, and explore the outer spaces. So that's basically what I did. Yeah, I was involved in countdowns, in
Wow.
launching those rockets. I had the ability to say no go or go on the East Coast and the West Coast. So we launched a ton of different satellites. It's a lot of fun.
I have a question. Like,
Sure.
if we can send a rocket to like Mars, how come I can't get internet on the second floor of my house? That's what I want to know. We can send all these satellites up, but like in my basement and on the second floor, I
Yeah.
can't get consistent internet.
Well, you got to improve your Wi-Fi.
So, but you grew up on a strawberry, your family did strawberry farming?
Yes.
And so how do you go from being a strawberry farmer to a rocket scientist?
Well, that's I don't really know. When I was going to grade school, I knew that one of my best friends, his father was an engineer, and I talked to him every now and then. And somebody asked me one day what I was going to be. I said, "Well, I'm going to be an engineer," and I just decided at that time. And I loved math and physics and all that, so they kind of folded right in. And so I that's what I did. I just loved it. I want to brag.
Okay, go ahead and brag.
Well, I went through all school, and Japanese are supposed to do this, study real hard, which I did. But I had straight A's all the way through. Yeah.
You're such a good student.
Well, no, I studied hard.
You said,
I
yeah.
wouldn't have been that if I didn't study hard. So.
I mean, I think that's the key with any kind of success, right? Is, there's some things that come quote unquote natural to certain people, but really at the end of the day, you can make up any deficiency by working hard and applying yourself.
Yeah.
And, having discipline. So I want to go back to that picture that's behind you.
Yeah.
That's at the Botanic Gardens, did you say?
Yes, the Botanic Gardens, Denver Botanic Gardens on, I think, 9th or 10th and York Street. That's where it is.
And
well, that was
what was going on in that day?
The 100th year anniversary. We had the whole year that myself and another co-chairperson, we planned and executed. We had hundreds of people helping us, by the way. And that took a lot of organization and organizational skills to do that. By the way, I learned how to do that by being an engineer, because I used to draw these little block diagrams, kind of, linked together. And says, "Oh, you got to do that. And you got to be in that block." And that's the way I did it. But my co-chairperson said, "Oh, I don't want any of that." But we worked together real well. Had a lot of different activities through the whole year. We had a fishing derby. We had, all kinds. This is one of the highlights. It was a special service for our temple that we did. We gathered a number of people to come there, and we enjoyed the backdrop of the Japanese Botanic Garden, the Japanese garden in the background. And we had a service there and just really enjoyed it. And then you can see the people in the background, they came out from the tent that was back where the service was set up. If you look in the back there, the garden, that's what we were looking at when the service was actually conducted. This is really, really a great experience. I don't know if you've ever been to the Botanic Gardens.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful.
I was thinking just yesterday, I was like, I wonder if they're open. I don't know what's open yet.
Yes, you need to check. They are open, and I'm sure there are distancing rules and things like that right now.
Because I know it would just be nice to walk around. I love the Japanese garden, and the bonsai garden is absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, my wife's brother was one of the main people who designed that Japanese garden.
Really? Wow.
He was in charge of the upkeep and everything of that for a number of years before he passed away.
When I went to Japan, it was October of 2018 with the as a guest of the Consul General,
Mhm.
and we were able to tour a Japanese garden and talk with master gardeners. It was so impressive. I really didn't understand Japanese gardens until I went on that trip.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, when someone explains it to you, then you understand what you're looking at. I mean, I would encourage anybody to, if they go to a Japanese garden, to have a tour guide, someone that's a master gardener, to explain all of the elements,
Yeah.
because it's so meaningful. Everything about the Japanese culture has
Mhm.
meaning.
Yeah, it's so peaceful, in tune with nature and the tranquility of nature, and that, you know, that feeling that you get whenever you're in space like that.
So you're so unique. Okay, strawberry farmer, rocket scientist,
Also grew sugar beets.
organized sugar beets.
Yeah, in Fort
Sugar
Lupton.
beets. Oh my, wow. But one thing we haven't talked about you is you are a singer and you sing. And I promised I wasn't going to ask you to sing on this, but you sing. Um, but you teach other people
Yes, I do.
Japanese
Uh-huh.
songs.
Yeah,
Are they like children's songs? Are they?
I teach younger people, middle age and older people. A lot of the people who just love are actually called a little crazy about singing are the older people. And they just love the connection that it still gives them with singing those Japanese songs. And I bring them new songs all the time, just brand new songs, and they just love it.
You know, it's so important that the older generation, you and my mom are really close in age.
Yep.
And she does the drumming, like we talked about the drums behind me. And I'm seeing like the older generation, especially who have spent many years here in the United States, giving back to the next
Mhm.
generation to make sure that people know their culture and are close and that the culture doesn't die. Is that one of the reasons why you started doing this?
Yes. Well, that's one of the reasons. But actually, when I started singing, I was like just maybe 4 years old. My mother started singing, and she started me singing to. You probably don't know these phonograph record players in the old ages. You had to crank them, and then the little disc goes around. You put this needle on it and it plays. Well, that's why I learned the first Japanese enka song, and I said, hey, this is pretty good stuff. So I kept doing it through all the years, and started getting culture from that too. You learn about the song, get culture, and I didn't tell you this, but in 1976 or so, our Buddhist temple started this singing contest called Utagassen, and it's patterned after a Utagassen in Japan that did every New Year's. It's pits the ladies against the men, red versus white team, and we have a contest, each singing a solo, and at the end, judges tally up the points, and the winner is awarded a trophy or something. But I was involved in 1976 in those early years to help organize that. So we do that. We've been doing that every year. We had, I think this is the 43rd or 44th, 40 anniversary of it. And I've been singing in almost every one of those.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, a
Maybe
lot of fun.
that's your secret for
Hmm?
staying so young. Hmm?
Well, my age is not young, but I feel young.
You're so active, right? You're active,
Yeah,
you're
you
young.
have to be. Yeah, I am really concerned about passing on culture to the younger people and getting them to actually get involved in something and making a difference, you know, in some advocacy group or, you know, activists or something like that. I'm not saying be an activist to be honorary or anything, but, you know, you got to get involved and get this whole society to move forward.
I love it. So, Richard, during this time, what is something that is bringing you joy and putting a smile on your face during this quarantine?
Oh, during the quarantine? Well,
Mhm.
you know, we are pretty much hunkered down because my wife and I are in the category as high risk. So my son goes and does our grocery shopping for us. Thank goodness for him. And then he actually stays and cooks for us too. So yeah, so we're enjoying ourselves.
Well, you did a good job raising your son.
And then I sing. I am learning new songs.
When is your album coming out?
And
You have an album?
no album. I just sing. Just sing. I just let it sing.
Well, you know, maybe when it's safe, you can come over to the house. We have a studio and
Oh, you
we
do?
will record. We got
You
to
got to
put
play
this
the guitar for
together.
me.
Yeah, we have a recording studio.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
wow. I'll come over. I'll be there.
Yeah, we should have you come over and then you can put your voice down in history.
Yay.
And then we can sell it and make money and become rich.
Yeah,
How's that?
I might have to pay them to buy it.
Well, Richard,
Yeah.
thank you so much for being so generous with your time. I was so delighted to talk with you and learn more about you. And you were such an awesome spotlight today.
Well, yeah, like you can tell, I'm just an ordinary person. Okay, and I just want to share myself with everybody else and kind of encourage everybody. That's
Well,
what I'm.
you did that today. You did that today. So,
Thank you.
arigato. And
Do itashimashite.
is it too early to say konbawa?
Yeah,
It's too early. It's not even 1:30 yet. So
konnichiwa.
konnichiwa is okay. I just say arigato and konnichiwa.
No, do itashimashite. Thank you very much.
Okay. Be well, Richard.
Thank you. It was a pleasure, and thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome.
Thanks.